Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. In tonight's show, we're going to be tackling two main topics. The first of which is the fourth edition of the Egypt Petroleum Show that is held over 3 days. It is actually held under the title and under the slogan North African and Mediterranean, delivering the energy needs of tomorrow. And joining us here tonight in the studio for the first segment is Mr. Hussein Al-Ghazawi, the oil and gas expert. Mr. Ghazawi, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our discussion, let's check out this report regarding President Sisi inaugurating the fourth edition of Egypt's the Egyptian Petroleum Show, and we'll be right back.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi inaugurated on Tuesday the fourth edition of Egypt's 2020 at the Egypt International Exhibition Center in New Cairo, gathering more than 1,600 delegates, 270 speakers and over 450 exhibitors, with 30,000 visitors attending the three-day show. The three-day event brings together key international oil and gas influencers and decision-makers to discuss the evolving structure and future opportunities in the industry's finance and investment landscape. Egypt's is an oil and gas event providing the most significant annual meeting place for the industry's key regional stakeholders and international oil and gas players looking to do business. The three-day exhibition is being held under the slogan North Africa and the Mediterranean, delivering the energy needs of tomorrow, and aims to provide a platform for industry interaction between national and international oil companies. Meeting face-to-face with exhibitors provides a good opportunity to discover new projects, technologies, key products and services to help deliver growth within the region's hydrocarbon sectors. Attendees can gather the latest industry knowledge and learn from their peers through formal presentations, interactive panel sessions and roundtable discussions. They can also connect in an informal yet business-focused environment with oil and gas industry peers. Whether they would like to learn how to achieve cost efficiency, reduce production deferment, effectively deliver capital oil and gas projects, apply agile project assessment models, or learn about advanced processes control in refineries, alternate feedstock options for petrochemical imports, substitution or financial models of biodiesel production, Egypt's 2020 technical conference covers it all. Throughout the three-day exhibition, 4 streams of content thoroughly prepared by 81 members of the technical committee, covering 15 different categories across upstream, midstream and downstream sectors of the oil and gas value chain. Meanwhile, product delivery to market is available infrastructure within the producing, consuming, as well as transit countries. Dialogue on commercial, financial and technical cooperation among all parties is crucial to ensure effective modernization, operation and maintenance of pipelines, terminals, storage facilities, as well as ports.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Starting off our discussion right away. Mr. Ghazawi, now this is the fourth edition of the Egypt Petroleum Show. Now, this is the most important and maybe the biggest regional and largest oil exhibition within the region. Before we start focusing on this fourth edition, What happened and what are the outcomes? What has changed over the last three editions of this exhibition? How did Egypt progress through these exhibitions?
I strongly believe that Egypt is gaining momentum. It's only the fourth edition, and we see that we have 30,000 attendees. That's never happened in any fourth edition of any or similar event. It is the big. You are right. It is the biggest in the Mediterranean and Africa, and it's a fantastic platform for various companies to come and present their technology, to share the knowledge. I think what the progress happened over the last three editions, from the first edition, it came under the patronage of His Excellency President Sisi. President Sisi attended the first and second, and now the fourth edition. It demonstrating the commitment of the leadership. It gives the assurance about the investment environment in Egypt. All these companies, all the investors, there is no heart when it comes to invest. Giving the assurance from the leadership of the country, his commitment, spending time to visit and listen. Definitely, it gives a momentum and visibility to the event. It's a fantastic facility for those visited, and I urge who hasn't visited to go and visit the Egypt International Exhibition Facility. It's by any standard. I attended many of a similar events. This event over 33,000 square meter. It is a significant space. It adds also a value, allows a company to show their technology and have the space and the facility to do so. So annual event gaining momentum year over year. It's not only an event to show, but it also has a strategic part of it, technical part of it. There are the last 2 days are women in energy, where the country promote the role of the women, and yes, of course, in the energy. Oil and gas, it's used to be main dominated, and we see significant change, became more women, and Egypt is leading in that. Also, there is a section talking about health, safety, and environment, which is very important aspect of the industry. So it is a very exciting time for Egypt oil and gas and industry, and I'm very pleased to see this level of high-level attendees and participant in the event.
Yes. Well, Mr. Ghazawi, now this is the fourth edition of this show. What sort of prompted the presidencies and the government's focus really on this very integral sector? Was it the discovery of the Zohr gas field in the Mediterranean? Are we really trying to not shift the economy's attention, but really use this energy sector as a main sort of source and a locomotive for driving the Egyptian economy forward? Why do you think we all of a sudden, over the past 4 years, just paid extreme attention to this integral sector?
I think I think the story of the petroleum sector and energy sector in general in Egypt, we should all be proud of the story and what have happened in the last 4 or 5 years. What prompted when Egypt was exporting gas and turned to be importing gas country, putting almost $2.5 billion of expenses to import gas. I mean, it's very difficult from being exporting to become an importing country. Your LNG plant in Damietta and Edco became overnight idle because you don't have gas. I think in this cold weather, people remember 4 or 5 years ago, we had a shortage of gas cylinders. So the lack of electricity at the same time as well, because you don't have enough gas to fuel the station, or you don't have enough station to provide the required electricity to the country. And I think the leadership of the country and the government have taken a serious measure in the energy sector. And definitely the discoveries, the gas discovery in the Mediterranean helped that. And I would like to comment on that if you allow me.
Please.
There are two examples. We have Zohr and we have Atoll. And I would like to mention from the time of discovery to the first gas, these two projects, first after 28 months and second after 33 months, Atoll. It's significant by all standards. International standard, we talk about 6 years plus. Countries, in neighbor countries, took them 6 to 9 years, and they have the similar environment. They have a shortage of gas. They don't have lack of funds, so they had fund, but it took them 6 to 9 years. So we have done something we should all be proud of. It attracted the attention of a lot of international companies. The last bid rounds, we saw that mega international company, they were not existing in Egypt before. They came to Egypt. We saw also European exploration and production company were kind of slowing down their exploration activity, coming back again. So we have a fantastic mix of American companies, European company, also regional company. We talk about ExxonMobil, Chevron as an American company, Shell revive again their exploration plant. Wintershall, the German are active in exploration again. Apache, the main American investor in Egypt, still have aggressive plan in developing in the Western Desert. And if we compare the bid rounds where you open your concessions for the companies to come in other countries, Egypt managed, and it's a fact, to attract very high level company, big companies, because when with this deep water, you need, of course, E&I was Zohr and their activity. With all this deep water, the era of the easy oil or easy gas is over. You need technology, you need the spending. So you need a big company with experience, with a good track record. There is also another field which I think it doesn't get the visibility and actually helped Egypt to turn again from being importing to self-sufficient and exporting country is North field. It was close to the shore, having the existing facility. It produced now about 1.2 billion cubic feet per day. Out of the total, we reach up to 7 billion cubic feet per day. So there is a lot of success stories in this sector. And I think the determination, the focus, and the commitment from the leadership and the government definitely helped us.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mr. Ghazawi, you spoke about pardon, the international companies and the presence and the interest that is being shown. The President has actually met with head of the British Petroleum Chief Executive Bernard Looney, Bechtel's Brendan Bechtel, and Schlumberger's Olivier Lebouche. Now, these are the big heavyweights in the oil and gas sectors. The President actually inaugurating all these editions of the show, meeting with the heads of these multinational companies. What significant indication does it show now? Do you expect these companies to come and intensify their exploration, diversify the spectrum of their research and their exploration and extraction? In what capacity do you see these multinationals actually investing and working in Egypt?
Coming from international companies' experience for over 30 years, working all over the globe, I haven't seen such commitment from a leadership to spend the time to give assurance, as we said earlier. Investors, they don't have hearts. Why I have to invest unless I make money? Egypt paid the outstanding dues of the foreign companies. We reached up to $6 billion 5-6 years ago. We paid, as indicated, over 80% of that. The President always gives direction on solving and resolving, overcome any issues coming from international company experience. Haven't seen that. get it direct from him, having the decision-making process. It gives you assurance and give you wellness to invest. There is a competition, everybody competing. So I think Egypt on the right track and good track for that. And we have seen what PP have done, Pictel and the other companies. It is significant what they have invested. ENI, what Egypt used to, I think the last 2 years was the biggest when it comes to international investment for ENI and PP. So definitely they had the assurance where they come and basically invest their money. We cannot forget the new player, ExxonMobil and Shell, and the existing Apache, ExxonMobil and Chevron, sorry, and existing Apache and Shell. Mubadala Petroleum is coming as well for the Red Sea, which wouldn't have been possible without Egypt signing the maritime agreement with demarcation with Saudi. So now there is a lot of hope in the Red Sea. I'm talking from experience. There is a good prospect in the Red Sea, and we hope, inshallah, we'll have that. The recent award of Dragon, which is a UAE company, of taking the asset of PP in the Gulf of Suez. Now Shell want to focus more on the gas and the Mediterranean. Talk about divest their asset in the Western Desert, and there is a lot of company interesting. So we have a healthy, attracting environment for investor to come and invest in Egypt oil and gas.
Yes. Mr. Ghazzaoui, now it seems that this fourth edition witnessed a huge sort of interest coming from the US. Now, the US has been involved in this sector here in Egypt, but it seems that this interest is being intensified. How do you explain the reasons behind the US really taking a bigger interest? Are they trying to, do they see more potential in the Egyptian market? Do they want to sort of fight it out with other multinational companies from around the globe in terms of competition for this sector in Egypt? What are the reasons for the US interests?
The discoveries in the Eastern Mediterranean, not only in Egypt, in Israel and Cyprus, it's definitely significant. And I think the Mediterranean basin hasn't yet give all its secret. There is significant potential. These American companies are aware and familiar with this potential. The strategic position of Egypt in the center of the Eastern Mediterranean as an energy hub, with all the existing facility, having LNG facility in Damietta and EDCO already exists. That's a significant saving in terms of money, in terms of time. We have excellent infrastructure. We have ports, Summit pipeline. We have all what it needs to turn as an energy hub. Back to your question, all these American companies see the potential of Egypt, sees all this good prospect of the Mediterranean, and they came and invest. Let's not ignore the other important player in the coming 5 and 10 years, the Red Sea. The Red Sea on the other side of Egypt and Saudi, they had a good discoveries, and we will have, inshallah, very good discovery. So it is attractive, very attractive. So they see the potential, they know the prospect, and they will continue to invest.
Yes. Well, you speak about the potential, for instance, within the Red Sea. Now, are we talking about gas? Are we talking about oil? What do you think is Egypt's strongest card? Is it the gas? Because it seems that way for the untrained eye. But is it gas? Is there still a lot of oil that could be discovered, especially close to the Red Sea where the Gulf countries are?
Worldwide, everybody goes for more gas as a clean source of energy. Egypt is gifted that we have a surplus of gas. We still have a lot of potential of oil. We are not yet self-sufficient oil, but we will be, inshallah, close to close that gap. So I see there is a lot of potential in the gas in Mediterranean and Red Sea, but we should not ignore the oil in the Gulf of Suez, in the Red Sea as well, and in Western and Eastern Desert. But generally, back to your question, there is worldwide motive or trends to go more for gas as a cleaner source of energy, and Egypt is basically leading that in this part of the world. The discovery, back to discovery in the Mediterranean, it's in a special type of rocks, which was for Zohr. First time to have this type of reservoir in the Mediterranean. So Egypt is gifted, and we will have more discovery, inshallah.
Yes. Well, Mr. Ghazawi, now it seems that there's a lot of interest from all the international companies, all the international communities coming to Egypt for the oil and gas sector and the resources. Is there a fear that maybe in 15, 20 years' time, with all the exploration, that all these companies would dry out our resources? How long do you think we can sustain the exploration and finding out all the natural energy resources that we might have? Is there a fear that we might come in 20 years' time and say, well, they all came and we have nothing left?
No, and I think this question has been asked many times before, and that's why we had an issue post 2011 when was no investment and the international company stopped exploring for more oil and gas, and your reserve in place, whether it's oil and gas, dropped. So it's a continuous investment and continuous search for more oil and gas. And I'll take US as a good example. Nobody saw 10 years ago that US will be the #1 oil producer. They are producing per day 13 million barrels of oil, more than Russia and Saudi Arabia, because using of technology. So technology is another part of it. Technology is advanced technology allowed country like US with the shale oil, the shale gas. US is exporting gas to Europe now. So my 2 cents on that for Egypt is the investment, use of the new technology, continuous exploring, and that's why an event like Egypt's allow to exchange ideas, sharing technical paper, understanding what others did. There is fantastic technology being applied in United States, and now we are using that in Egypt. So I'm not concerned about drying out our resources. There is always going to be a need for the fossil energy for years to come. As a country, with our plan on renewable, we're doing very good with renewable. In 2022, 20% of our electricity production will be coming from renewable. The solar plant in Bimban, it's a success story. The wind plant, Jabal Zaid, Za'farana, and even we are trying to having even a power station with coal. So we are the nuclear in Dab'a.
Yes.
We have a very good plan when it comes to diversify our energy sources, and we'll have always a good resources.
Yes. Mr. Ghazawi, now it seems that the whole world is turning to green energy and green economy, and Egypt has its own 2030 sustainable development agenda. Africa has the 2063 agenda. Now, we are, as you've mentioned, we're working on our renewable energy sector, and it's progressing quite nicely. But what about the dependence on fossil energy? Now, do you see a way of using or turning the use of gas and oil into a more environmentally friendly sort of source of energy?
Sure. We see now there is more of the power station are running with gas. There is no more oil. It's much cleaner energy. back to Egypt Sustainable Development Plan. By 2035, if I'm not mistaken, I think the renewable will be up to 35%, which is significant. We have fantastic sun, maybe not necessarily this few days, but we have a good sun. We have winds,
yes,
and so I think we have all the ingredients to have the diverse energy sources. One point actually I would like to,
yes,
to highlight, if you allow me. With our position and this event, for example, it also give the Egyptian companies who have been working in Middle East and North Africa the chance to present their technology and what they have done. I strongly believe that Egypt should be the gate of Africa. There is a lot. Africa is an unexplored continent, and we have a lot to give. There is significant gas discovery in East Africa, Mozambique, Tanzania, Senegal and Mauritania, fantastic recent gas discoveries. All this need our experience, our know-how, and we have our track record. The Suez Canal economic zone, I think for me, and coming from the oil and gas sector, I think there is a lot to be done when it comes to industry and manufacture. We should look what happened in China the last 10, 15 years. We need more local industry. And to zoom to the oil and gas, there is a lot of the oil and gas equipment can be manufactured in this economic zone and use the Suez Canal, the Red Sea and Mediterranean to cover the huge potential market of Africa and definitely the existing market of the Middle East and North Africa.
Yes. Mr. Ghazawi, one final question. Now that you've mentioned the local industries, now with all the interests and the investments that will be made by the multinational and international oil and gas companies, now do you think this will give a chance for the local and Egyptian industries to actually progress, develop and flourish? What do you think are the main obstacles for the expansion and development of the Egyptian companies? Is it a question of finance? Is it a question of technical and know-how? How do you see the Egyptian and local oil and gas market expanding and progressing?
It's an opportunity, because if we talk about all this major project in the Mediterranean, majority are done by Egyptian company, learning and sharing the experience with the international company. We have a talented workforce. Egypt is gifted with its people. So I think we on the contrary, we have more opportunity for the Egyptian companies, for the local industry to evolve with all this mega investment and learn, exchange. It's not one-way traffic, it's two-way traffic. They learn from our experience and we learn from them. So I see a fantastic opportunity in that front.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, obviously the 4th edition of the Egypt Petroleum Show actually shows and manifests the government and presidency's interest in expanding and strengthening this very integral sector here in Egypt, the energy sector, the oil and gas exploration as well. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the first part of this show. I'd like to thank Mr. Hussein Ghazzawi, the oil and gas expert, for his insight. Mr. Ghazzawi, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's check out this report regarding our second topic for today. Egypt actually cooperating with financial and international institutions to finance the development projects. Egypt is counting on contributing 30% of the GDP by the end of 2020 in the industrial sector. Let's check out this report and we'll be right back.